The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
What a huge win in LA.
You are Locked On Warriors.
I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
And there were just so many down the stretch of this game that I can point to, whether it was Draymond Green with a strip late in the game, just like his 9th awesome defensive play on the game, a lot of it on LeBron James, and he's going nuts, or whether it was Steph Curry hitting big shots down the stretch, circus shots early in the game. Pods had himself a big moment, big moments, many of them. Let's break this thing down, Kolsky, piece by piece, and let's start with the fact that the Warriors were able to withstand every single storm that the Lakers threw at them. Until the very final whistle, they answered the bell. They went into this game with a loss. They would have been all the way down to 8th in the standings. Now they're a game back of 4th. This was a massive game and one that the Warriors came to play and held on, to say the least. They held on. Whew.
Yeah, what a night, man. What a fun game of basketball. That was an absolute delight. And, I try to say it every time, but just appreciate these LeBron and Steph matchups while you're still getting them at such a high level. I mean, wow, both of them were spectacular tonight. And the difference really was the rest of the Warriors, Brandon Pajemski leading the way, obviously, but Moses Moody had big moments. Jonathan Kuminga had big moments. I mean, Draymond's defense continues to be exceptional. I saw somebody posting earlier about Defensive Player of the Year, and don't underestimate the effect that a big defensive night on a big nationally televised game with Reggie Miller saying, just give him the award, just give it to him already. Like that has an effect on voters. So, I think we talked about he's now the favorite, and I think he's in the driver's seat for that, provided things go reasonably well the rest of the way. Also in the chat, a few people have mentioned the lack of Anthony Davis really changes things for how the Warriors are able to attack the Lakers, and that allowed them to get into the paint tonight. It got Steph to the line over and over again, and I think once they get that going, then the threes fall a little easier. And like you said, like low turnover game, answered every Lakers run, a little shaky at the end, but you'll live with it. And really tremendous defense throughout by a variety of people on Luka Doncic. I'm not hearing you, Chuck, and I don't know if that's just me not hearing you or if that's...
That hasn't been this entire show, has it?
No, just now.
I was going to say, welcome, everyone, to Locked On Warriors, if that's the case. Now, the mute monster got me. I was going to say that Anthony Davis, though, I didn't even think about that as the game's going on. I'm like, the Warriors look like a great matchup for the Lakers. If you saw them 5-4 all of a sudden, I don't hate the prospects of that going down. I don't hate it. After seeing them without Anthony Davis. Still really good, but I do think that you match up pretty well. Granted, it took a unconscious effort from Brandon Pajemski. It took an all-world defensive performance from Draymond Green, which you brought up before the game, I was going to say. You said yesterday, I think Draymond's going to come out with something to prove. He knows what's at stake here, and you were right.
He was so awesome tonight. I mean, you look at the box score and you wouldn't know it. Butler, too, for that matter. Neither of them had big box score games. They both were monsters out there. And look, the Lakers are really good. The Warriors played pretty well front to back in this game. Lakers hung with them in the first quarter and then nearly pushed this thing to a really tense place in the late minutes. But and there will be nights where you'll do exactly the same thing and Luka will score 35 on you, So you don't love very many of the playoff matchups. Like, if you could somehow match up with Memphis in the first round, that would be great. But otherwise, it's pretty tough out there. But you're right. Like, if it's the Lakers or Denver, I think you take your chances with LeBron and Luka.
I'm worried about Reeves, man. I mean, you know
He's
what you're
tough.
going to get from Luka, but Reeves has been killing the Warriors all year.
He
And
is
Luka
tough.
early, man, he was going for that foul. He was baiting, and the refs were not buying it. And when Luka is not getting the call, his game's just so funny to watch, man.
He is a confounding and fascinating player. But he's also, look, tonight,
When he's
19,
in rhythm, he's incredible.
He was 19, 8, and 7 with 1 turnover tonight. He actually played a few possessions of what I would call spirited, if not excellent defense. And, like, that was not a good game. So that guy's terrifying. He's terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Warriors match up reasonably well with this version of the Lakers, and it's not for nothing that they've beaten both of the Lakers' stars en route to championships in the past.
That they have. The young nucleus. Brandon Pajemski, 28 on 10 of 17, 8 of 10 from 3, including a half quarter going into the locker room, a little in front of half court, but a little 35-foot runner, banks it in. Okay, that was the 6th he had in the first half. So 28 for him, 13 from Moses Moody. He had his moments. He's been really good defensively as of late. I think there's a reason Steve Kerr went from playing him 14 minutes to 35 in the last game and 29 today. He's really starting to trust what Moody brings to the table. And then Kuminga, I thought he was really good. I look at the rebounds, 9 of them. I look at the assists, 4 of them. I look at 0 turnovers. I mean, you don't love Kuminga taking threes, but they were all within the flow of the offense. They were good looks. He hit one of them. He had 18. He was a +9. Those three guys win you the game. Like, that's your difference. Curry was the star of the show with 37, 13 of 14 from the line. He was getting there. He was foul baiting hard on that 3 for a stretch and got to the line a couple of them, I think. At least one trip. I thought it was 2.
JK tonight, he came in that first quarter, and in 7 minutes, he had 6 points and 4 boards. And it was the rebounds that probably stood out more than the points. He was perfect tonight. I mean, if that is the Kuminga you get, look, we're not going to talk about his minutes anymore because it's a tired subject at this point, and it is what it is. But if he's going to give you positive contributions, crashing the boards, playing great one-on-one defense, which, look, he gets lost out there defensively sometimes, off the ball especially, but when he buckles down, he's as good a one-on-one defender as they have on this team, and he showed you that tonight on Luka. Attack the rim, rebound the ball, play defense, and you're good. That as somebody in the chat just said, that is the Jonathan Kuminga you need.
There's nothing like the energy of an MLS match, the chance, the atmosphere, the last minute goals. If you want to experience it all live, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all in prices, and a low price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLS or any other tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. I just checked the Gametime app, and there are incredible deals for this weekend's match, cheaper than I expected. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast.
We got to talk about Ja Morant because he's been all over the news headlines, by the way. And for those who didn't know, the NBA concluded, its celebration. I mean, it's an investigation. I said celebration. Investigation into the celebration with Ja Morant, the what do you call it, the gun gesture celebration, the 3-point celebration that he and several other Grizzlies players do. And according to the multiple reports out there, the league just issued warnings. And if you listen to the last episode of Locked On Grizzlies, we talked about it from the standpoint that this wasn't something I think the league aggressively was looking at. Like, this was something that people were inquiring to the league about, and the league responded and said, okay, we'll do our due diligence. Nothing there. We'll give them a warning. Life goes on. I think that's pretty much the realm of what this situation was. But moving on to basketball, the Grizzlies needed Ja Morant to really be good, and Ja Morant wanted to be good. These last few games, right, the Grizzlies are losing 7 of their last 8 games, and I've been in the locker room. Ja's frustrated. Like, he has been frustrated. He just wants to win, and he said, man, this ain't us. All this losing, this is not us. And with the game on the line, look who delivered. Ja Morant getting the buzzer beater, lifting the Grizzlies to the 110-108 win against the Miami Heat. And this first segment, we're going to talk about Ja being Ja, because that's what it's all about at this point. And it's going to be mostly hoops. We're going to talk mostly hoops here, but there are some narrative things that carry over to the basketball floor that are really important to point out as we talk about Ja Morant being Ja Morant. The number one thing that I want to touch on that we saw in this game, all these things are things that we saw in this Miami Heat game. A Heat game, in this game, we saw Ja Morant score 30 points. He shot 11 of 22 from the field, had 3 points at halftime. 27 of his points came in the second half. He had 16 in the third quarter while dealing with foul trouble. He had 11 in the fourth quarter to close the game. 5 rebounds, 3 assists. It was mostly a get buckets day for him. Three three-pointers made as well. Terrific game for him, and they needed it, right? Desmond Bane was 6 of 23 from the field, did have 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, but 6 of 23 shooting, 1 of 9 on three-pointers. Jaren Jackson Jr., 5 of 11 from the field, 3 of 5 on three-pointers. But Ja Morant was Ja Morant. He was special in this one. But we're going to talk about Ja being Ja. And the 3 things that I want to focus on here. Number 1 is the celebrations. I'll be briefly on this. We talked about he knocked down 3 3-pointers, and you know what you saw after each of those 3-pointers? You saw the same celebration that has kind of made the waves around the league. What I got from that in terms of how it translates to the basketball floor is this is a more confident, this is a more, I think the word here, let's see. Yeah, confident might just be the word. This is just, he's more confident in his own skin. I think that's the way to put it. And what I mean by that is we saw Ja 2 years ago get in trouble, right? For the first time, March 2023, got in trouble, the whole gun situation. Then there was the second situation that came in May. But when that stuff happened, Ja shied away from anything close to mimicking gun celebrations. I mean, it was always all the way down to the music that he played. I remember before March 2023, Ja Morant will be in the locker room, and as he doing his interview or whatever, he's playing his certain type of music, his hip hop music that he likes to listen to. But after March 2023 happened, when I felt like we got this sheltered, this piece of a version of Ja Morant, he would be very cautious of the music that, he would, here comes the media. He would turn his music down and things like that. And you just knew, like, this is a buttoned up version of Ja Morant. So I wanted to see, to a lesser degree, like after, he's been in the headlines again, are we going to see a Ja that's going to be a little bit more buttoned up? Or are you going to see hey, man, I'm still the same guy. Like, y'all ain't changing me. And I think it's more of the latter now. Like, he is who he is, and he knows that now, whereas it's not trying to kind of, change himself to be who others want him to be. That's a really big part of this thing. Ja Morant after the game had some really interesting comments about how he's responding to negative criticism. And he said, I'm kind of used to it. I was pretty much, a villain for 2 years now. Every little thing, if somebody can say something negative about me, it's going to be out there. So, yeah, I don't care anymore. He doesn't care anymore. That's a perfect example of that. He came back still being himself. Now, You know, some people will see that and say, Ja just doesn't get it. Others will say he's being himself. I like to see it. At the end of the day, he's not in trouble. So, look, confidence is one of the main factors of the game of basketball. We talk about it all the time. As a coach, you have to instill confidence in your players. You want your players to be confident. And that was a way of seeing Ja Morant's confidence carry over. And we saw how it impacted his performance as well. Another thing that impacted his performance was playing through foul trouble. And that was another big one. This game, Ja Morant, and it was self-inflicted, which you can argue the first thing that we talked about was probably self-inflicted too. But self-inflicted foul trouble in this game. I think Ja picked up his third foul in the game in the third quarter after it was a frustration foul. It's something that Ja says, look, I'm working on it. Paraphrasing here. He's basically said he's working on, you know, those situations where he's driving to the basket, he wants a foul, and he's complaining to the referee. And, you know, you see it a lot. The action's continuing, and Ja still talking to the referee, and the other team has an advantage or whatever the case may be. Ja said, look, I'm working on it, but it's tough. As a competitor, it's tough. And then I get it. Me personally, I get that. Because as I get competitive sometimes, and you're not thinking about the big picture. You're thinking about that moment. But with all that being said, Ja picked up that third foul literally after he felt like there should have been a whistle blown. Did he get the rebound? He shoves Alex Burks, who has the basketball, who plays for the Heat, shoves him, gets a technical foul, frustration foul, and then later picks up his fourth foul with about 7 minutes left in the third quarter. Has to go sit on the bench. I'm thinking at this point he's probably going to sit to the fourth quarter. That's a bad, especially for a guy who was rolling in the third quarter at this point. Tomasi Salo brought him back in the game. He brought Ja back in the game with about 2.5 minutes, 2:44, I think is the exact time that was left in the third quarter, and Ja continued to cook. Finished the third quarter, as we said, with 16 points, carried that performance over into the fourth quarter. Playing through that foul trouble was big. That's how you get the confidence from a coach right there. Because in this game, Isalo may have looked at it like a risk. He's got 4 fouls because Ja wanted to go back in. He was hot. He was rolling. He's like, Coach, put me back in. Like, I got it going right now. Coach like, man, if you pick up this 5th foul, they're going to get me. He pushed Ja back in. Ja Morant did not pick up that 5th foul in the third quarter. He lasted into the fourth. He takes his little break that he usually takes, after he plays a few minutes into the fourth quarter, comes back in, closes the game, wins it at the buzzer. So the other one that I was going to talk about here is embracing the villain role, but I think that kind of goes into, the thing with the celebrations and the quote that I just said. As Jaren Jackson put it, I wouldn't boo Ja Morant. That's what Jaren Jackson Jr. said. And then Ja Morant, when he was told that quote, he said, yeah, me either. He talked about how the boos from the Miami Heat fans motivated him in the second half. If you watch the game, in the first half, it wasn't really many boos outside of the normal. But in the third quarter, after Josh shoved Alec Burks and picked up that technical foul, he started hearing some more boos. And that's when, his, as you said, some people like to say, his villain story. That was the origin of his villain story in this game against Miami Heat. 27 points in the second half for Ja Morant. Look, the celebrations were a sign of the confidence. And look, depending on whatever you think about it, at the end of the day, it shows how confident he is. I think we all can agree to that, whether you say, oh, I want him to stop doing the celebrations, or whether you're saying, Ja, keep being you. At the end of the day, the guy's in a confident mode. This is not the sheltered version that we saw after March 2023, after, May 2023, when he came back that next season and didn't really appear to be the same Ja Morant that we had saw over the previous years. He's playing through foul trouble. That's going to be big. That's something that can come to play in the playoffs as well. So a lot of good things to take away from Ja being Ja. That was the real big takeaway, as well as he picked up some big baskets down the stretch of that game, leading the Grizzlies to a much needed win for the Grizzlies over the Miami Heat.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you can start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
Giannis has done a lot of special things throughout his career, and during tonight's win against the Sixers, he did something for the first time in his career.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast.
The Bucks beat the zombie Sixers by 13 points tonight, 126-113. And with this win, the Bucks do slide back into fifth place in the East because the Pistons were idle tonight, and now they both have the same record. And if one asks, like, well, how did the Bucks win this game against the zombie Pistons or zombie Sixers? It's Giannis, and more Giannis. A monster triple-double for Giannis tonight. 35 points, 20 assists, 17 rebounds for the Greek Freak. And listen, a playmaking version of Giannis is the version I think that the Bucks need, especially with Dame out. But this was a next level type of performance from Giannis. This was the first ever 35 point, 20 assist, 15 rebound game. Jokic and Wilt, and let's just stop there. When you're with Jokic and Wilt, like, you already know what type of company you're in. The two of them have had 20 rebounds and 15 assists with 35 points, triple doubles, but never have we seen a 20 assist triple double with the 35 points at least and at least 15 assists. It's the first ever 35-20 game in Bucks history, only the 8th in NBA history, according to our good friend Justin Garcia. It's the third most assists in franchise history behind Scott Skiles and Guy Rogers. First 30-15 game of Giannis' career high 20 assists. Again, just a monster performance from Giannis tonight.
Yeah, Justin and I talked in the last one about, it was one of those appreciate Giannis' greatness games the last time we saw the Bucks. And, I know we try to not gloss over that, Camille. There's so many games where he has like 30 points and 12 rebounds and 6 assists, and it's like, well, that's average Giannis night. So we talk about other guys because that's usually, what swings games, right? You just sort of become numb to what Giannis does and can easily take it for granted. So this is the second game in a row. Let's make sure we're not taking this version of Giannis for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as, there was that period post All-Star break where, it just seemed like he wasn't quite himself. And even tonight, he missed a dunk early, missed a couple layups early.
That he normally would make.
But then kind of found his groove. Sixers, just did not have kind of the physicality, size, personnel to match up with him tonight. And he was just incredible. And the playmaking obviously is what made this game unique. We've seen, he averages almost 31. So like the 35 points, ho hum, right? We see him do that very regularly. He did hit another 3. Also another great free throw shooting night. He's 21 of 23 from the free throw line these last 2 games. So maybe we don't want to talk about that too much, but great time to be making free throws in the spring as we near the playoffs. So that was, obviously really nice to see as well. But yeah, 20 assists, only 2 turnovers. Mm-hmm. And I went back on Bucks, they had kind of all of his assists and no real like cheapies. Like there was one like dribble handoff to Taurean Prince where Prince took a couple dribbles and, scored. And so that, might say like, oh, that's like, you didn't really like do much to create that shot. But other than that, it was Giannis attacking off the dribble, kicking out, doing acrobatic stuff in the air. We saw the around the back pass to Kevin Porter Jr. for a dunk in the first half. We saw a beautiful wraparound pass with his left hand to Kuzma for a layup. He was working that inside out kind of high-low game with Brook all night long. We've seen him do that all season long for years, using Brook's size and just having the confidence to throw the ball down to the big fella. And fittingly, that was how he got his 20th assist. Although it looked almost like
me for a second.
Yeah, it looked like Brook was like almost going to kick it out, which is like, how often does Brook Lopez catch the ball, 2 feet from the basket and then pass it out, right? Like Brook is like a pretty tunnel vision guy when he sort of sets his mind that he's going to score. So yeah, you could almost hear people on the floor being like, shoot it. And so he reconsidered and put it away. But yeah, not a lot of dribbles on those Giannis assists. Other guys, right? Like, a lot of spot up threes, a lot of layups, and you had Pat Connaughton on a kind of typical like Connaughton cut where Giannis, passed right over the defense from the high post. So yeah, I mean, we don't take it for granted, but again, this is, a 7 foot, 250-pound guy just playing like a point guard, running pick and roll, attacking, a set defense from the top, dribble driving, going between his leg, just architecting the offense. And there isn't anybody else this size who's ever been able to do these types of things.
Yeah.
And for him, to again just continue to be doing this, continue to be playing at the level that he is, again, because of where the Bucks are in the standings, right? It's not going to get the shine that it deserves. But it was nice in the aftermath of this game, like just looking on, social media, like a lot of people from, non-Bucks accounts, league-wide people were kind of opening their eyes saying like, whoa, like that is a monster line from a guy that, we've seen a career full of monster lines from. And, for him to do something that's never been done in league history, that obviously he hasn't done before either, that takes a pretty special performance. And, like last night, last time out, you kind of took him on his back and said, like, we're not going to lose. This one, they were able to stretch the lead out a little bit, but, plus 23 in a, whatever it was, 13-point win, kind of told you about what his effect was on the game. And, again, probably took the Bucks a little bit longer than you would have liked to put this one away. But hey, because of that, we got to see a little bit longer Giannis. And, if they had turned it into a laugh, we probably don't see 20 assists. So we got to see some history tonight. And at a period of time when there's not tons to get excited about with the Milwaukee Bucks, it's nice that we can count on Giannis to be just, again, the greatest player that we'll ever watch in a Bucks uniform and just reminding us night in and night out.
Yeah, and that is why I continue to say, as long as the Milwaukee Bucks have Giannis on this team, like the championship window is open, because he by himself is going to hold that up. Just a monster performance from him. And I did see some people trying to say like, hey, it took all of that for the Bucks to beat the Sixers. And it's like, listen, sometimes it'd be like that, but you're thankful to have a guy who can put a team on his back like that and help them through the finish line to get the dub, because this was a Sixers team that was playing really hard. And we've talked a lot about where the Bucks have been struggling over their recent, last 15 games, 4, 5, 6 games in particular here, especially with the turnovers and the offensive rebounds that they've been giving up. But even with the kinks in the armor there, when you have 34 on your team, like you already have a built-in advantage, and the Bucks leaned on that tonight against the Sixers. But with Giannis being able to put a performance like that together, where he has 20 assists, I believe the Bucks finished with like 32 total assists on the night. So Giannis, 20 of the 32 assists from the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. A performance where you saw 7 total Bucks finish in double-figure scoring again. Now, you mentioned it, Frank, and I thought it was a great way to put it, of like, hey, Giannis is that engine that makes it go, and we lean on him, and normally we highlight the other guys because we're used to Giannis doing what he does. But we had to open the show talking about what Giannis did, especially when it's something that has never happened in NBA history.